What is something bad you have done with no regrets? Worked as an orthopedic nurse for 2 years. The orthopedic director, Dr. Asfuck, was not only a tyrant, but he also didn't believe people had any pain after having a total knee replacement. I frequently got orders from him for Tylenol, when patients said they were in agony. I sat beside so many times holding the hands of innocent little old ladies we were in excruciating pain. I spent so much of my shift calling Dr. Asfuck and demanding pain medication for suffering people, only for him to order non-narcotic pain relief, ice, walking, massage. He finally blew a gasket one day, and codified all the things we had to try before contacting the physician for pain relief. The smug prick even codified it into policy. One day, I arrived for work to find all my coworkers arguing about taking a patient. This wasn't news, because we had any number of frequent flying Karens, who could make your shift awful. The patient was Dr. Asfuck. He had a total knee done. I had a smile as big as the Grinch on Christmas when I volunteered to take him. On assessment, he rated his pain a 10 on a 0 to 10 scale. I told him his pain couldn't be that bad, it's just knee surgery. Didn't you tell me it doesn't hurt? Dr. Asfuck demanded I get him some 4 morphine OT dilaudid. No can do document. You're not the physician on this case, and it's policy that we try all these other things before I call. I made him work through the whole list just like everyone else before. At the end of my shift he was crying so hard, he was blowing snot bubbles. I don't feel bad at all. After his stay, his orders changed to include pain medication. A drunk driver hit my parked car, left a huge dent in the front driver's side door, and then drove away. I happened to be looking out the window at the time and saw the whole thing, including his plate number. Cops got there not long after and took my statement. After a couple days and a couple phone calls, I found out nothing was going to come of it because he was the son of the sheriff the next county over. Fast forward a couple months, I see his car parked behind a local bar within walking distance of my apartment. I got out my hunting knife and sliced all 4 of his tires, and made a couple trips around it destroying the paint job. Yellow Pontiac Sunfire, and I still remember the goddamn plate number even after almost 20 years. I was a GM for a retailer that was going out of business. During the liquidation, I let my employees that worked until the end store product they wanted to buy in a closet I claimed I didn't have a key to. The final days I sold them all the items they requested for 95% off. 70-inch TVs, iPads, gaming laptops, whatever they requested. A housemate of mine kept eating mine and my girlfriend's food, and even though I asked him to stop, the only thing he would ever say is, "I thought it was mine." Then keep eating it. Well, I bought my girlfriend some ice cream she really enjoys, and she put the half she didn't finish back in the freezer. Well, when she wanted to get the rest, it was gone, and it made me madder than I think it probably should have. The very next time I saw him, and somehow keeping a straight apologetic face, I told him how he accidentally ate our sex ice cream and that bits of it had been on my dick, etc. I told him I felt too guilty not to tell him, and that I had to apologize for him to eat such a thing. I will never forget the face he made when I told him. A face of pure self-disgust and shock, to which all he had to say was, "I wish you never told me that," and proceeded to move out around a month later. Although he didn't actually eat sex ice cream, like, why the fuck would you put it back after use anyway? Sometimes I wonder if I went too far, but in that moment I just did not care at all. He still doesn't know it isn't true, and I'll probably never see him again. Fuck you, Vitas, buy your own food. You definitely didn't go too far. I mixed laxatives to a jar of Nutella that I knew my flatmate would steal. She'd done it 3 times before and blew me off when I asked her to just go buy her own. Apparently that was a little too extreme, but she never did it again, so I'm calling it a win. My mum lost 2 kids before I was born. Absolutely destroyed her. When I was about 13, my dad and I had a petty argument, and he responded with, "You should have died like the other 2, and I fucking lampied him in his mouth. No regrets. I hope you got an apology for that. That's inexcusable and never something you should say to a child. LOL, to this day he hasn't apologized for anything. He lacks self-awareness on every level. He's a pathetic, frail old man now. In college I was so poor I would steal toilet paper from the supply closet in our major building. 5 or 6 years after my ex had screwed over both our boys and me, I was working as a collector in a bank. A credit union called looking for some info on someone they were looking for. When we were done with that, we exchanged names. She said, "Wow, I am skip tracing on someone with your same last name." It seems that my ex and her boyfriend of 6 or 7 years both were hiding their cars from being repoed. So I found out where and when they would be, called my new bestie, and both of the cars were repoed at the same time in 2 different states. Felt bad about it for a while, but no regrets. Took $20,000 in cash from my sexually abusive father's desk and gave half of it to my sister. He actually never acknowledged that he missed it, and I don't feel bad. Edit. We are fine folks. We used the cash to pay for the therapy we were going to at the time. He's long dead. We had been trying to get him to accept responsibility and pay for the therapy at the time. Why did he have $20,000 in cash on his desk? Because he was an idiot that didn't trust banks. Quit a job and held on to all my equipment until they paid me back wages. They never paid. Edit. Holding back wages is very illegal, but there was so much shady business going on, it wasn't worth going through the trouble on my part, as there were so many other issues. I'd spend time, money, and effort and still likely to never get anything for it. I was honestly just happy to be rid of them. Went full Ralphie on one of my school bullies, basically punched him until the teacher pulled me away. No regrets, he had it coming. He never bothered me again, and was magnanimous to say, "Hey mate, I never knew you had it in you." "Yeah, thanks, a-hole." Teacher pulled me aside and said I'd not be punished because she understood why I did it, but don't ever do that again, my class. I beat the living shit out of the guy who beat and raped a friend of mine. Dude ended up needing to go to the hospital. To this day, it's the one and only time I've ever sought a physical confrontation, the only time I've ever swung first, and the only time I've ever intentionally harmed another person. I have no regrets. I would do it again in a heartbeat. A couple years ago, I had a boyfriend and a best friend. My best friend was dating my boyfriend's best friend. My boyfriend and my best friend got together behind our backs. Ruined 2 years-long friendships and 2 relationships. My boyfriend worked at a construction equipment rental place, and before all this happened, he had gotten me one of those big propane tanks for my outdoor fireplace. Fast forward a few months after everything happened, and he reaches out to me. He says he got a new job and needs to return that propane tank, or he'd have to pay the cost of it for lost equipment. It was about $200. I replied, no, and blocked his number. Wasn't very nice, but damn if I do not regret it. I still use the propane tank all the time, lol. I thought this was going in a fiery direction when I read propane tanks. Forged a doctor's note to get out of an entire year of PHY-ed. That was in 1996, so I think I'm safe now. FBI, don't fucking move. Stole a dog that was being neglected. I stole a kitten that belonged to an auto shop. They had it chained up to live on top of file cabinets. Because of 2 Dobermans. A friend and I spent time feeding and playing with the dogs at night until I could sneak in while she fed them. Took that kitten so fast. At home, my mom asked, "Is that the kitten I told you not to steal?" I said yes, and she said, "Okay, let's find her a decent home then. No repercussions, no regrets." And we found her a great home. In my country, there's this fake gang that they just steal animals that are being abused and troll people who call them dangerous. It's really cool. Years ago, I worked for a wealthy dude who was married to someone semi-famous. He would waltz in every morning and talk about the fantastic dinner he had the night before, how he hung out with some other famous person or whatever else. He paid me peanuts. I had a hard time making ends meet. I was the office assistant, an IT guy. So it comes time to get a new computer for one of the designers. I spec something out and show it to him. It was a ripper of a machine for the time, early 2000s. But it wasn't expensive enough for Bossman. So I added a really high-end graphics card. Boss was happy then. The card added nothing for the designer. They only did Illustrator and Photoshop. So I came in that weekend and swapped the graphics card for my aging one from home. No one ever knew or cared. And I got a new graphics card. Kid used to bully the shit out of me in elementary school. Just could never relax around him and had to avoid him, or hope there was another kid he decided to fuck with at recess any given day. He went away in middle school and suddenly reappeared in 8th grade. I had 2 years of wrestling and a couple years of ice hockey under my belt at that point. He saw me and came right for me, so I picked him up by the waist and slammed him down on his back and head on some pavement. Could have fucking killed him, to be honest. He laid there for a few minutes, got up, walked away, and never fucked with me or anyone else again. Let a rude alpha male a-hole seriously injure themselves on a job because they wouldn't listen to repeated warning about using a saw tool improperly. Then when they were taken to the ER to put their thumb back on, told our supervisor what he did to cause the accident, and that he blew off specific direct warnings by myself and 2 others. Fuck guys who do that shit. I hate having to retake safety courses on jobs, because some chump doesn't believe in basic work safety shit. Back in high school, my friend was always picked on by the coach because he was very unathletic. One day, the coach made me and my friend clean up the storage room as a punishment for slacking off in class. Coach gave me his lanyard with his keys and whistle to open and lock up the storage room. When we were done, my friend asked me for the lanyard and he took the coach's whistle and stuck the mouthpiece up his butt under his shorts. We went and found the coach and gave him back his lanyard, as another class was beginning. I did not say a thing about what my friend did with the whistle. First thing the coach did when he got the lanyard back was start blowing that whistle. Slapped a girl. The only one time in my life when I hit a girl. Not just a simple slap, but a full-blown smack on the face. This happened in the freshman year of my high school. Back then I was a very shy and awkward kid, only talked to my small group of friends. And I was bullied. Like a lot. And the worst part was that I was bullied by a group of girls. There was this notorious group of girls who always picked on me and did absolutely terrible things. And I didn't really know how to react or confront them. One of them was especially the worst. She used to hit me on the back of the head, spit on me, pour water on me, and this happened every single day. This one particular day she crossed all the lines. I was sitting on my desk in the classroom, and then she randomly smacked me in the back of my head. I turned around and she was like, "What?" And then she kept throwing stuff at me, and finally she picked up this small garbage can and turned it upside down over my head, and I had garbage all over me. And that was it. That was the tipping point. I got up, turned around, and gave a full-blown slap on her face. She slapped me back, but after that day I was never bullied again. Beating the shit out of my girlfriend's father who sexually abused her as a kid. No more needs to be said. Yeah, I got charged for battery, but I'd do it again if I had the chance. Hearing and feeling his eye sockets, nose break as my fists hit them was the most euphoric experience, and still not even an ounce of the pain he put her through. He took nothing from me, and I'd go to prison again in a heartbeat if I saw him again. You don't know me, you don't know what I have to lose and what I don't. I was expecting to go down for murder that day. That morning I woke up and knew what I wanted to do. I did it. I know I'd be in prison for some years, so I tried my hardest to get my sentence worth. Suspended sentence I did 1 year in. I was laughing. Now he's living out the rest of his days brain damaged. It was worth every second. I shouted and humiliated a boy to save him from guys going to jump him. I told him he was gonna get jumped. He didn't believe me. So I said nasty things and he ran home. When he was gone the guys were gutted they didn't get chance to beat him. We never hung around with those dicks again. But that kid I think of every few years randomly. I humiliated him in front of a girl he crushed on. She was in on him getting jumped. She was with one of the dicks. I made real fun of him. His face before he ran home was so sad and upset. I hope I didn't change him for it. It killed me, but at the same time I'm glad he didn't get hurt by them dicks who were older and would have went too far on him. Sweet kid. What is something bad you have done with no regrets? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.